What's up, Potters, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I've got another unboxing for you, which this one's a little bit of an interesting one. Of course, today I was able to go to 3 different Home Depot locations. Of course, I wanted to check them out because they started even more clearance deals since last Thursday, and over the weekend, lots of stores by me have started selling out of pretty much almost everything, so I want to see what they had left. And when I went to the store closest to me, I was surprised to see that not only did they have the clearance deals from the website, but my store decided to take it a step further and actually discount stuff even more than what they had at discount on the website, which was really cool. Unfortunately, I'm not sure when they started doing these clearance deals at my specific store, if they discounted stuff on the weekend or if they did it just today. I'm not really sure, but still, it was cool to see a few of the decorations that I had left marked down for super cheap. And of course, I was able to find something which I have been tempted to get for a little while now, but I kept pushing off because, I wanted to see just how much cheaper it could go. And today, of course, I was able to find it for $150 down from originally $300, which is awesome. But pretty much what I was able to get, which you probably already saw in the thumbnail, is this thing right here, the twisted Soul's Archway. The box barely fits in frame right here. And yeah, it is a really awesome one. Honestly, one of the most underrated products this year. I've seen almost no videos on it. No one's really talked about just how cool this thing is. So excited today to show you it and just unboxing everything. So with that said, that's enough talking for the intro. Let's of course get into checking out just a little bit of what this is, and then of course get into the unboxing. So yes, to start off, like with most unboxings, I like to just check out a little bit of what exactly the box shows us. So let's check that out. Of course, this one has a big box. I'd say it's a pretty comparable size to my 12-foot mummy from Jemmy. It's a little bit taller, I think, and a tiny bit more wider, but it's fairly similar size. But yeah, this one is a giant. Of course, there you can see the one image, you can see how tall it is. It says 6'6" there at the top. I'd say it's a little bit taller than that, maybe 6'7", 6'8". But yeah, I can easily walk under this. I'm 6 foot tall, and there's still a couple inches up there. So from the bottom of this to the ground, you probably have about 6 foot 3 inches or so. And yeah, 6.9 feet wide, pretty wide. And then this little spot itself, that's at least 4 feet. So it's a decent size. And here, of course, you can see what the photo looks like, which is awesome. I'll tilt it up a bit for you there, but you of course can see illuminated. It's cool. It has lights in it. It's pretty much a strobe light, so you can either have it on constant or you can have it strobing, which is really cool. It's got all these sculpted details, which is really awesome. Fully sculpted, which I do love. Of course, there you can see some of the stuff about it. Home Extends Holiday. There you can see the sticker was $300. They had it down to $149, which was awesome. It says reason code. It's damaged. I don't know why, but this is what it says. Twisted Soul's Archway, LED, indoor, outdoor. It does say 7 feet on here, even though it's not 7 feet tall, but overall, a giant box. I'm going to have a hard time storing this, but that is a problem for future Alex. So overall, this is awesome. I did already unbox this. I'm filming this after the unboxing. For the unboxing of this, I didn't really feel it was talk with the camera, because this one, it's complicated setup and there's just so much stuff. So I did time lapse it, but I will talk a little bit over the time lapse to tell you exactly what's happening. So yeah, let's cut to the time lapsed unboxing where I'll tell you what's going on. And of course, you can see me unboxing. We've got the instructions there, a little piece for the base. These next 2 boxes right here, pretty much just all the poles for this, which have those LED strips on each side of the pole, which is really nice because of course this lights up on both sides of the arch, which is much appreciated. So we of course have 8 of those, 4 for each side. Next up here, we have all the different pieces for the arch. Of course, there's 5 that go above, they walk under. Those ones are not hollow and have the strips already in them. And there's 4 for each side that of course are hollow, and then the poles will help support those pretty much. So a lot of those pieces, you can see they're each individually wrapped, which I do appreciate, so then they don't get scratched up in shipping, but does mean there's a big pile of just these bags now, which isn't the greatest, but got that. And then finally, there's 2 pieces for the base. But now getting into the setup for this thing, it did take me a little bit while, but of course, as you can see, pretty much you put one pole down, then you put another one of the hollow pieces on. Then of course, each pole you have to connect the wires to each other for the LED lights. Then those pretty much, you just keep doing that over and over. It does take a little while, as you can see too, to get these lined up perfectly. There is arrows that show like which way they're supposed to go, but you have to bend the pieces a little bit to get them to fit properly. But yeah, you can see just, yeah, putting on more poles and then more of these things. And then of course connecting those wires, which you can see it just keeps popping out on me, these pieces too. They're like not molded perfectly. You're gonna have to bend them a bit, but eventually, as you can see, I figured that out. And of course, it's 4 of these pieces tall on each side of this arch. And then after that here, as you can see, I'm pretty much doing the exact same thing on the other side. There is separate poles for the other side, but each of the pieces on each of the sides are exactly the same. So it's pretty much identical, except one pole has 2 different wires going up and then one pole only has 1. Of course, I can see, like the other side, just put it on one pole and then the piece, and of course connecting those wires on. And then yeah, this one too is of course 4 stacks tall. And now here's the last part of the setup. Pretty much it's just these top pieces for the arch you have to put together, which for these you just connect the wires, and then of course these you just have to push them together and then slide them into place or twist them into place, which goes pretty straightforward. One of the pieces I did have a little bit of troubles getting it, but I eventually did. And yeah, this piece, of course, once it's together, I didn't show this on camera, but I just got my dad to help me, of course, put this piece on top of both of the things, which is also that little twist lock for each of the tops of the arch. But overall, the setup for this, it did take a while, but hopefully watching this video, it does make it a little bit straightforward if you're setting this up and you're having troubles with it. So yes, everyone, there was the unboxing. Overall, an interesting setup on this thing. I've never set up an animatronic that has a setup like this before. I've never gotten any of these Archway like props like this before, so I'm not entirely sure if most of them have a similar setup to this, where it's like a different pieces and like the poles going up to support it. But overall, an interesting setup, a complicated one. It took me over an hour in total to set this up. I think maybe even close to 2 hours, just with everything I had to do with this. There's so many complicated pieces, but once you have this set up, it's really cool. So of course, getting into the review and of course checking this out, I stepped in front of my house, so I'll throw some clips up on screen of just what this looks like at nighttime while it's strobing. And honestly, this thing looks insane. Of course, talked about first thing, quality on it. Quality seems pretty good. I do somewhat want to compare it to the 12-foot mummy a bit. It seems like a little bit similar to that guy in the way that like the poles are built up and how they have the LED strips on there, but I do appreciate how it is outdoor and everything. Like each of the connectors, it does have those like little screw tops and everything, which is the one thing my 12-foot mummy, of course, for the strobes that he has going through his legs and everything. It's just these little simple connectors, which I don't think are supposed to get wet. But these ones here on this, it's actually waterproof connections, which is really awesome. Then the poles and everything to support it seem to be built pretty well. And then of course the plastic molded piece on this seem to be painted well. I don't notice any major issues on it, so that is nice. And then of course the lights on this are really bright. I do like how you can have them constant on or flashing at different speeds. That's really awesome, so sick. And then just design wise on this, it looks so cool. I love just how it's sculpted and everything. It's fully sculpted 360. Either way as you walk through this, it's pretty much looking really cool. I like how, yeah, it has a 360. One thing I will say is you can see the seams of where each of the pieces line up, which isn't ideal. I wish there was some way to get around that, but I do understand that with a plastic thing like this, I don't really know how they would have avoided that, so it's something that they couldn't really avoid, but it still is a little bit annoying. But overall in this, I'd say it's definitely something I'd highly recommend buying. It looks sick. You can fit it for like so many different themes. Like this theme is mostly going to be a theme I have in my graveyard. I think I'm going to use it as the exit to my haunted house. So you walk through this, and then as you're looking at the house, you also see this as like the exit of the haunt. So that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, it's such a cool one, really good quality. And for this originally being $300, and in the US, I believe it was $250. Of course, if you're from the US, tell me if I'm wrong, but to get this now for $150 is an insane deal. Of course, USD, that's around $100. So overall, really good price for this. The $300 originally, it was a little bit much, still decent for this, how big and everything this is, but the $150, it is at the one store I got for now is really good, and the $200 is at most other stores right now is pretty good. Maybe your store may have discounted more, I don't know. So honestly, out of 10, I'm gonna have to give this a 10 out of 10. This is one of the best products I've ever bought, and like usually I only buy like inflatables or animatronics to have in my yard and stuff. So to have like a big prop like this that's not really an animatronic or an inflatable is just really cool to have just something different. So I do like that about it too. So overall, a really great product. Anyways, with all that said, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoy. Of course, I'll quickly address why the background is different. Of course, we're at my studio. No, it's not looking the greatest right now. Of course, a lot of stuff I have in there. I'm moving around to the garage to set up in there, but I will be back in the studio after Halloween, filming more in there. For now, I'm going to be doing more like voiceover, and then of course I'm going to start filming a lot of stuff in the haunt. So excited to do that. But anyways, comment down below your thoughts on this prop. If it's something you would get and if you like it. And of course, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another awesome video like this one. Anyways, I will see you all next time. Goodbye.